Welcome to the On Deck podcast presented by LineStar. I'm Shannon Sommerville here with Tyler Wiemann, about to break down some fantasy baseball for you on today's main slate. But before we get to that, we have a breaking news update on the story we told you about yesterday over the fantasy football fight between Jock Peterson and Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham slapped Jock Peterson last Friday over a fantasy football argument from last season where Tommy Pham was upset with the way that Jock Peterson, I guess he put a injured player on the IL.
Yes.
Is that what was going on?
Yeah, he put an injured player into his IR spot, and which is legal as far as ESPN rules go. Tommy Pham, however, is saying that they had their own rules. So that shouldn't have been legal. And now he's throwing the commissioner into it.
Okay. And the commissioner is
Mike Trout.
Mike Trout, commissioner of the league.
Tommy Pham is saying that Mike Trout is terrible at his job and that he is the worst commissioner in fantasy sports. How do you feel about that?
That is, the saga continues on this fantasy. I just want to see the group chat now. Like, what's going on in that group text right now?
That's true,
you
too.
know they're all...
And I feel like this is just like another episode of the league. It's like we're just starting a new season.
So I'm just looking it up now. He said, I guess he told a reporter, we had rules to the IR. I know the ESPN app rules, but we had our own individual rules, which is what you said. He goes, Trout did a terrible job, man. Yeah. Trout is the worst commissioner in fantasy sports because he allowed a lot of stuff to go on, and he could have solved it all. I don't want to be the effing commissioner. I've got other stuff to do. Trout didn't want to do it. We put it on him, so it's kind of our fault too, because we made him commissioner.
And Trout doesn't have other things to do. He's got a young kid. He's one of the best guys in the game.
I mean, it is, commissioner is a big responsibility that you cannot take lightly.
Job.
Especially, I'm sure they had a lot of money on this. So
I'm sure they did too.
However,
I want to get into that league.
I mean, now,
hey,
yes.
You guys can invite me anytime.
Now I'm sure this league has just become one of the most highly sought after spots to be in for next season.
And I'm sure that any major league player that is really into fantasy football is begging to get in now.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think Tommy Pham will be invited back by the commissioner. What do you think after all this?
Probably not, Cotton.
Probably not. But it makes for entertaining content on the On Deck podcast.
Risky strategy. We'll see how it plays out.
So it is also Nasty Nestor Day. So let's get to today's main slate for today and talk about our Chalk Report, who is our high-owned projected pitchers for today. And no surprise here, being that Nasty Nestor Day, he's our top projected pitcher for today. So the Yankees lefties going up against the Angels today. Speaking of Mike Trout.
Yep.
Going up against Nasty Nestor today. 38% owned on DraftKings, 30% on FanDuel. That is not a player I want to be facing. It's a mad Mike Trout at the dish, right?
Especially when the Yankees beat him soundly yesterday.
Well, Nestor Cortez has been dealing second best ERA in baseball right now, 1.7, 175 opponent average, second fewest hits per nine in Major League Baseball right now, and the ninth highest K per nine. And Angels fifth in average against lefties. So, I mean, he doesn't have the best matchup in terms of that, especially when you got a mad Mike Trout who's been being talked about as a bad commissioner. So he's got out for vengeance today.
I like that you did bring up their fifth in average, though. But for the month of May, the Angels versus lefties have been kind of middle of the road.
Okay.
So they've been a little slumping versus lefties, haven't been quite as good as they were to start the season. They're striking out 21% versus lefties. And Nestor's been great. 27% K rate over the last 5, 3.28 FIP. You really can't say anything bad about how Nestor's been. The combined K rate, 25%. So I do see some upside. I see why people are going here. And, I mean, it's not a bad play at all.
Right. I mean, It's Nasty Nestor, guys.
Of course you would say that.
Well, let's talk about Seattle's lefty, Robbie Ray. He's going up against the Orioles today, 38% owned on both sites. Now, he's got a 4.75 ERA, but 229 opponent average. Last time out, he did give up 2 home runs, 3 earned runs altogether to the A's, but did have 10 strikeouts. So we know he's got some K upside there. He's had at least 8 strikeouts in each of his last 4 starts. And the Orioles, in terms of average, they're bottom of the league. And against lefties, they're 26th in the league, although they have been playing a little bit better more recently. Still a nice matchup for Ray.
Yeah. The one thing I do want to bring up here, too, is the weather. It is going to be nice.
Yes.
It's like 90 degrees, wind blowing out. Because of that, Seattle's probably going to be pretty chalky because they're not facing Robbie Ray.
Yeah.
But Ray, pretty high owned. In May, Baltimore has been a bottom 5 offense versus lefties and striking out 25%. Meanwhile, Ray has had 33% strikeout rate over his last 5. So there is huge strikeout upside here with those two numbers. However, Ray also has a 4-point FIP, a 5.35 ERA over the last 5. So he hasn't exactly been sharp.
Right.
But that K upside is kind of hard to dismiss. So that, not to mention that 35% hard contact and 43% fly balls.
Yeah, he does give up a couple bombs here and there.
Yeah, he is acceptable to the good old home run, good old long ball. But Ray's been great, and there's huge upside, so I get why people are going here.
Right. And we've talked about it on the show before, but Camden Yards is not as hitter friendly as in years past, and today this year it's leaning more towards being pitcher friendly. I mean, with the weather being the way it is, it probably all makes kind for a neutral.
I think there's going to be still plenty of runs there. It's just not going to be home runs. Like yesterday, Seattle had 10 runs, and I think maybe they had 1 home run.
Right.
You know, it wasn't they did it all through base hits and doubles and whatnot, and extra base hits, just not hitting the ball over the park.
Unless you're Aaron Judge, not a lot of long balls going out at Fenway.
Although he's not happy with Camden
Yards, that is. Anyways, let's talk about Rangers righty John Gray. He's going up against the Rays today. And he is 30% on DraftKings, 6% on FanDuel. 5.56 ERA, not too attractive of a number right there. 248 opponent average, though. At home, I saw this 320 opponent average. Then I looked a little closer. I think he's only had 1 start at home this year. So that's obviously too small of a sample size to draw anything from that. Rays are 22nd in average, 26 in the month of May. So they just have been totally anemic at the plate. Yeah.
I'm going to start this off by saying I really don't like to go after meh pitchers when they're chalky.
They're just fine.
They're just fine.
Which means not fine at all.
John Gray is fine. Like he's a decent pitcher.
Right. Yeah.
23.6 combined K rate today. Gray has a 4.4 FIP over the last 20, 3.5 FIP over the last 5. However, he is giving up 35% hard contact, 91 mile an hour average exit velocity. So he's giving up some hard hits. The other thing I'd like to point out is that his strikeout line was 5.5 strikeouts, which is fairly high for a guy at his price. So that is one thing to kind of take into consideration. Sports books like him. Obviously, the field likes him, and there's good reason for it. But going back to, I don't always like going after.
We gotta play a little bit of leverage games here as well. The game within the game, so to speak.
Yes.
So let's talk about some low-owned guys, maybe where we can find some value. We'll start off with Rays lefty Jeffrey Springs going up against the Rangers today. 25% owned on DraftKings, just 2% on FanDuel. He's got a 1.62 ERA, 174 opponent average. Great numbers there. He is getting more stretched out by the Rays. Had a season-high 6 innings last game versus the Yankees. He did give up 2 home runs in that game. But prior to that, he had only given up 3 runs in his previous 3 starts. Now, granted, a lot of these numbers, he's not throwing a whole lot of, innings. But Still some great numbers for Springs. And when you look at the Rangers, 18th versus lefties. So pretty favorable matchup for him there. And I really like Jeffrey Springs as a pitcher.
Yeah, he's been great and showed a lot of promise. Last 2 starts, he's got up to 80 pitches, so he is getting a little more stretched out. But then his 27.5% K rate at 6,200 on DraftKings, that alone should make you want to consider him, especially when he's not quite as high owned as, say, John Gray in a similar price point. Add in that he has a 3.5 FIP over the last 5 and a 1.9 ERA. And he's really just too cheap not to consider.
Right.
You know, he's not going to go super far into the game with only 80 pitches or so, but he has some upside in the K department. And Texas has been okay against lefties. They are better versus lefties than righties, but they're not a super scary offense.
Yeah. So could be some good value there, especially when you're talking about the price point on Springs. That leads us to our next pitcher on the slate here. We've got Detroit lefty Tarek Skubal versus the Twins. 2.44 ERA for him, 2.29 opponent average, averaging about 7 strikeouts per game in the last 5 outings. What do you like about this play?
Now, Skubal, like I think on Friday we talked about Alek Manoah just being too low owned for the pitcher that he's been. Skubal's in a similar situation. He's been 2.35 FIP over his last 5, 30% K rate. So it's really hard not to look at him at all with those kind of numbers. However, in May, Minnesota has a 122 WRC plus, and they're only striking out 15%. So they have been really limiting the strikeouts. They've been hitting the ball hard in May, and that's probably why the field isn't going there.
The plot thickens.
But ton of variance in baseball. They can have an off day any day.
Right.
And Skubal's been good all season.
Byron Buxton is not the same player he was.
He's been struggling lately.
To start.
And it's crazy they've been doing this without Buxton really contributing.
That's a good point. So a risky play there. But if you're, playing in those big contests, you got to take some risks somewhere.
Yeah. And the next one's risky too. And I kind of threw that in because Skubal's risky as well.
Sure.
Just give a few more options here.
So you're going White Sox righty Michael Kopeck versus the Blue Jays today. Righties are hitting just .098 against him, which I thought was pretty crazy. And given the Blue Jays righties,
a lot of righties
could be favorable for him. He did hold the Yankees to just 1 hit in 7 scoreless innings the last time out. So if you're taking a risk, not a bad guy to take a risk on.
Not at all, especially like over the last 20, he's had a 2.88 FIP. It's not much different over the last 5. Over the last 20, his K rate was 30%. We have seen a decline over his last 5 starts in strikeout rate, only coming in at like 22% over those 5, but he's been really good this season. And Toronto in May has been below average versus righties and striking out 22%. So you see the Toronto name, you're instantly a little scared, but they haven't been quite as good lately. So there is some upside, but it is, the dangerous offense that might be heating up a little bit.
They've been such an enigma this season.
They have had the hardest schedule in the league, though. So that could be part of the reason why Blue Jays haven't been quite that good yet.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a look at some stacks now. And we'll start off with our high-owned stacks for today. We're first going to be looking at the Dodgers. A lot of people very invested in the Dodgers today. They're going up against Pirates lefty Jose Quintana, who's actually been really good. 2.15 ERA, 2.15 opponent average. Last time he faced the Dodgers was actually just a few weeks ago, and he held them to just 2 hits through 6 and got the win. Now, I know everyone's probably attracted to the Dodgers because, hey, they have the highest OPS in baseball. And the one thing about this matchup that I don't love is just the fact that Quintana's, I think, underrated a little bit here. So
yeah, I mean, he's been great. 2.74 FIP over the last 5 too. Like, he's been a legitimately good pitcher, and his StatCast data is backing it up.
Right.
not allowing a lot of hard contact. He's getting some swing and miss stuff. He's just been good. The one thing, though, is the weather is going to be warm in LA today. Mm-hmm. So that ball may fly a little bit more than it does sometimes. But it is the Dodgers. It's like you can stack against them whenever, against whoever.
Yeah.
It's just in this matchup. They haven't been as good
for randomly. Like, they haven't been as good against the Pirates this series as you probably assumed that they would be. It's been a little bit
The other thing is
surprising.
that the Dodgers are super expensive.
Yeah.
How there is a lot of value pitching-wise on the slate, though, so you can absolutely stack them, but kind of hard to do it when the matchup's a difficult one and they're looking like they could be high-owned.
The Dodgers also haven't been as good against lefties, not nearly as good as they are against
righties. They crush righties and lefties. They're still good, but not.
There's maybe Freddie Freeman is the only one who hits lefties pretty well. Even though it is a lefty bat, he actually has reverse splits on that. I think that was the only one that had significantly better splits against lefties on the Dodgers lineup. So just something to take note of as, maybe with them being so high owned, it might be worth a fade there.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the Mariners going up against Orioles righty Kyle Bradish. Mm-hmm. We pick on him quite a bit on this show.
Poor Bradish.
7.31 ERA, 3.12 opponent average. Against righties, he's giving up a 3.61 opponent average and a 17.74 OPS, which is exorbitantly high. Mm-hmm. So I can easily see why people are going with Mariners today. Is it worth it, though?
Plus, the Mariners have been hot lately. They put up 10 run or double digits yesterday. It's 90 degrees. The wind's blowing out. There's a lot of reason to go for Seattle here. Not to mention that Bradish hasn't been good. 5.7 FIP. Yeah. He's allowing 2.2 home runs per 9, walking 3 per 9. He's given up less than 4 runs only twice this season.
Wow.
So it's pretty much every game he's been getting hit and hit hard. Mm-hmm. So it makes total sense why people are going
this way. So it's justified.
Yes.
Boston Red Sox going up against Reds righty Hunter Green. Green has a 5.89 ERA, 2.43 opponent average. And the last time out against the Cubs, he got hit pretty hard. 5 earned runs, 3 home runs, and 5 innings pitched. You're talking about a guy who gives up a lot of dingers. What do you think about the Red Sox matchup today?
Yeah, he's given up 3 per 9 for home runs. He's also walking a lot of batters, walking 5 per 9, 6.7 FIP. He hasn't been great.
Yeah.
The only thing going for him in this game is the weather in Boston isn't good.
Right.
Chance that this could be postponed.
Alert here.
If it's not postponed, it's cold, mid 50s or so. I guess not that cold, but baseball cold.
That is cold.
Oh, you think 70 degrees is cold. So.
I do.
But yeah, so it's not a great matchup for Green. Boston should light him up. No,
you mean you don't like to wear sweatshirts around the office when it's 70 degrees out like I do? No? All right. Yes, it's cold in Fenway nonetheless. Let's talk about some low-owned stacks to help you out, maybe find some value here today. Tampa Bay Rays going up against Rangers righty John Gray. Now, we talked about John Gray in our pitchers for today, one of the higher-owned guys on the slate. So is this kind of a leverage play?
Yeah, I mean, I love it when I can stack against a meh pitcher that's high-owned.
Yeah.
So, and Gray absolutely can have blow-up games. We've seen it for years now. And Tampa Bay's offense is kind of sneaky good. They can have huge games and really kind of link some hits together to make it work. So I like the leverage aspect of going Tampa Bay.
How about the Brewers going up against Cubs righty Kyle Hendricks, who has a 5.20 ERA? And I was looking at some of the Brewers numbers here. There's a couple players on the Brewers who've really gotten to him in the past.
Yes.
Yes.
And the Brewers have been super hot. In May, they're a top 3 offense, 124 WRC plus with a 214 team ISO in May. So they're hitting the ball really hard right now. Meanwhile, Hendricks, 5.56 FIP over the last 20, which is even worse over the last 5 at 6.1. He's allowing 45% fly balls, 33% hard contact. It could be a tough night for Hendricks. Hendricks is another one of those pitchers where he's kind of inconsistent. He can have good games, but then just get absolutely shelled. And I think that today could be a shelled game.
So just some of those players that I'll point out, just because I thought this was crazy. Colton Wong has a 360 average against Hendricks, and get this, 50 at-bats. So we're not talking small sample size. Right. And Jace Peterson also has a 352 average, 17 at-bats, but he has two home runs in there as well. So I like those numbers.
I do too.
So a good play there. Remember, if you are playing daily fantasy and you want to optimize your lineup, be sure to visit LineStarApp.com. Get yourself an app to help you with all your decision making and optimize your lineups. It'll tell you everything you need to know. All your stats in one convenient location. Is that a nice?
True.
Was that a nice voice?
You can even chat to
pitch?
Shandog.
Yeah, hit me up in the chat. We like to chat it up. That's what I also love, the chat feature in LineStar. Because honestly, everyone in the community wants everyone to do really well.
Totally.
It's awesome. Our LineStar community is the best.
Yeah, it is. It really is great.
They're great.
I love it.
If you don't know who to pick, just put it in the chat and everyone will tell you. And actually, for the most part, they're usually spot on.
Yeah, everybody's pretty good in there. They want to help each other. It's great.
Awesome.
It's a good spot to be in.
Check it out. All right, let's move on to some of our props for today. We will start off with our home run calls for today. Looking at today's slate, it was a little hard to make a decision on this one. I think I took the longest time I have all season to come up with one. Who did you come up with for today?
So, yeah, it was pretty easy for me.
Okay.
I went to go pick on our boy Kyle Bradish. Poor Kyle Bradish. I'm going with Eugenio Suarez. So Bradish has reverse splits. He's giving up 367 ISO to righties and 10% of his plate attempts to righties and in a home run. Meanwhile, Suarez has a 270 ISO against righties and 6.7 of his plate attempts end up in home run versus righties. So I'm going Eugenio Suarez to hit a home run.
Oh, yeah. I like that play. Love the Mariners today against the Orioles. I'm going with Rafael Devers. I'm taking a trip to Fenway for this one where the Reds righty Hunter Green is towing the rubber for them. And he's given up 11 home runs to right-handed bats this season. And Rafi Devers, 10 of 11 home runs for him have come against righties. So I think he goes yard today. One note, though, there is some weather concern here. So just keep an eye on it to make sure that it is not postponed if you're placing any bets on that one. Let's now take a look at our prop bets for today. Where are you headed for today? So first, quick recap. Yesterday, each of us, we had a 2 for Tuesday situation, and we both had at least one of our props. Yep. So,
but it was the plus money one that won, so we were still profitable. Plus money, we were still profitable.
That's all that matters. Yes. Just making that money. Who's going to make us some money today?
So I'm going to go with Robbie Ray over 6.5 Ks at minus 125. Ray has a combined K rate of 28%. He's hit 6.5 in 5 of the last 6, and he's done it in 3 of the last 4 times against Baltimore. He's averaging 8.4 Ks over his last 5, and I think he's going to go over 6.5.
Nice. All right. I'm going with, in your home run call, you picked a Mariner.
Yes.
I'm going to continue that trend and go with Ty France over 1.5 bases. This is at minus 105. He's reached that mark in 8 of the last 11 games. He's just been awesome. Last 7 days, batting .529. That's crazy. 356 versus righties. And Orioles righty Kyle Bradish is giving up a 361 average, 1774 OPS to right-handed bats. Give me Ty France over 1.5 bases.
So we really do like Seattle. It was
really
one of
like
my
Seattle.
home run calls. It's Ryan Humphrey's home run call. He's going Julio Rodriguez and your prop bet. 3 different Mariners.
I think we're trying to tell you something, folks.
Sorry, Kyle Bradish.
Are you going a 2 for Tuesday situation here, or is there
I do
another
have
one
another
that you
one.
like?
I can throw it out.
Let's hear it.
All right. So it's Michael Kopeck over 4.5 Ks at minus 115. He's hit this in 6 of 7 starts, and he's hit it on every road game this season, minus his first start, which was against the Tigers, and he only went 60 pitches. So we're throwing that one out. But he's striking out 9.5 per 9 in away games. This game's away. He's going to do over 4.5.
Well, 2 for Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go 2 for Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, you're throwing
Also,
it out
if you're
there.
going to do it, I got to do it. It is National Running Day, folks. And you know what that means. It's time for a stolen base prop. And I'm going with Mariners 21-year-old phenom Julio Rodriguez with a stolen base at plus 400. Yeah, he leads the league in stolen bases and is on pace for 50 stolen bases that'll be the first time since D. Gordon back in 2017. Give me a stolen base prop today.
I like
If it is a National Running Day, I just feel like that's a great omen for stolen bases.
It is. It is. I like that you're always on those.
We are always check the national, what's going on because okay,
Heat Awareness Day?
Heat Awareness Day, the Heat
Heat
won. National Peacock Day earlier in March Madness.
Yes.
Peacocks won in that.
Peacocks
I'm
won.
just saying.
The
The universe is always talking to us. We just got to listen. That's my wisdom for today.
Thanks.
All right, let's take a look. 2 weather notes for you today. Angels at Yankees. This has been called the diciest game of the day. 67 degrees, 57% chance of rain. Watch out. They have been very conservative in terms of just going with a postponement this season. So just watch out. Sometimes it's just light rain and they still postpone it. Reds at Red Sox. Probably a light drizzle here. 56 degrees though. So a little chilly. 75% chance of rain there. Again, but usually it'll be play-through weather there. All right, that's going to do it for us. So speaking of Mike Trout being the quote-unquote worst commissioner ever from Tommy Pham, who do you think would make a good MLB commissioner? Any
Good
thoughts?
MLB commissioner or
no,
fantasy
no.
sports commissioner?
Excuse me. Who do you think would make an excellent fantasy football commissioner?
Not-
an MLB player.
I can say definitely not Tommy Pham.
Not Tommy Pham. I'm going to go with, you got to go Aaron Judge. I mean, his name alone, right?
He's
got,
judge.
He's
That's
the
true.
judge.
That's true.
I feel like he would be fair.
I am bummed that Mike Trout is not going to be facing Tommy Pham the rest of the
That
season.
is disappointing.
I was really,
We need to see it.
I really wanted to see another slap heard around the world.
Oh my God. Although something tells me it would not have been Tommy Pham doing the slapping in that situation. But
I think Tommy Pham might be a little scared to slap Trout.
I hope there's more developments with that story because it
There's
just
gotta
keeps
be.
getting better
There's gotta
and
be.
better. All right, that's going to do it for us today. If you have any comments or any comments on this fantasy football situation, hey, who do you think would make a great fantasy league commissioner of all the players out there? Let us know. Drop a comment and download the LineStar app as well. If you are watching us and you're like, hey, I like what these guys are doing. Or even if you don't, let us know in the comments, but like and subscribe so you can keep up with all of our content here at LineStar. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck in all your fantasy games today.
Have a good one, guys. Bye.